Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Villa Park podcast. Hopefully going to be the third positive podcast in a row. It's me, Kev, and I'm delighted to be joined tonight with Sam, returning after the joys of fatherhood. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good.
Good. And also, as always, Rich. Rich, you all right, mate?
Very well, thank you. Very well.
Good, man. Good. I believe you've just been talking on a Newcastle pod, have you, about how they should be scared this weekend, hopefully.
Well, yeah, I was just saying, like, if you'd have asked me this 3 weeks ago, it would have been a 4-0 Newcastle win, no doubt about it. But after the events of the weekend, we're a little bit more optimistic about things. So
We are.
I don't think well, we'll get into predictions later on, but yeah, I mean, I am certainly a little bit more optimistic, and hope everyone else is too.
Yeah, cool. Well, listen, we'll dive into all of that, obviously. I just wanted to do a quick update, as we're trying to do on the pods lately, on Aston Villa women. Just a quick update, because they played another League Cup game last night. And unfortunately, they fell to second defeat in a row to Everton. It's a bit of an interesting competition, the FA Women's League Cup. I don't know if you've been keeping up to date with it at all, but it's kind of like group stages. So even though Villa have actually technically played 2, drawn 2, because they won 1 on penalties and lost 1 on penalties, they've got down as 1-1, lost 1, and it's a weird point system. So they're second to Durham women at the moment, and I think it's the top 2 go through out of 4 groups. So yeah, bit of a disappointing last few results for Villa's women after having a really good start to the season, and it seems like as their fortunes are dipping, Villa's men's fortunes are turning around, guys.
Yeah. I think it's hopefully they can turn it around. I think it might be that curse of the manager of the month. One of my mates had said that since Carla Ward got named manager of the month and Rachel Daly got player of the month, they've lost 2 or 3 games in a row. So yeah. Hopefully they can turn it around. But still in a decent position in the league.
Yeah, they are. And then last night as well, the possession stats are good. Probably had about 60 to 40 more shots on target. Just penalty shootout can go anyway, can't it? So, okay. Well, moving on to a very exciting game now. I think we all think it is Newcastle United preview. Sam, what do you think we can expect from Newcastle, mate?
Newcastle look good. They look like I don't know. Obviously, the difference has been Eddie Howe since around about the same time last season, where they just looked awful. But I feel Newcastle's resurgence has been really impressive. Obviously, now they've got the Saudi oil money. Everyone's going to, attribute their recent success and upturn in form to the money. But I don't think they've gone out and spent crazy money yet. I don't even think they've flexed their financial muscles. They just look more organized. Small additions to the squad. Bruno Guimaraes just looks absolutely quality. Great addition for them. Moving Joe Lenton to centre mid. I mean, what the hell was that about? Who saw that coming? I don't know. But he's an absolute beast in the middle. I think he's going to be key against Villa because he's so strong. He keeps the ball so well. He can run with it. He distributes it. He doesn't do any sort of great fancy passing or anything like that. He just distributes the ball to the better players. And then you've got players like Almiron as well, who have found their form scoring goals ever since Jack Grealish took the piss. And, and that's, they're just a really well-rounded side. I mean, Nick Pope in goals, just absolutely quality. In my opinion, should be England's number 1. They just have quality all over the pitch, but they're not inundated with superstars, so they're quite a level-headed team, and it's going to be a really difficult game against them.
Yeah, Rich, what do you make of that man just mentioned there, Mr. Guimaraes, Bruno Guimaraes?
Oh, absolutely fantastic player, and a real coup for Newcastle to get him, and he's the most impressive thing about him. Obviously, I live up here in Newcastle, is that he's really bought into the area, and he's really adopted himself to kind of it sounds cliche, but the culture of the city and all that sort of stuff. There's rumours of him, being linked to 1 or 2 other clubs, 1 or 2 other, the Real Madrids of this world and things like that. But, he may move on, but I can honestly see him sort of staying for what Newcastle can potentially do. But yeah, he controls games, never seems to panic on the ball, and scores goals. And they seem to have this, and this is what I'm worried about with playing them on Saturdays. They seem to have this momentum with them now, where when they score, they go after another goal, and he's kind of that driving force behind that. So fantastic player, Bruno, and he's one to worry about on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely is. Good comments coming in as always. Great to have some of the regulars on here. Gaza, evening, mate, and he says, "Congrats, Sam, another new villain." Unfortunately,
cheers,
maybe for him. Tim,
been a depressing start for the little man, if I'm being honest. He came right at the end of Gerrard's tenure, and I felt guilty straight away. I was like, I can't do this to him. I can't do this to little man. My wife is an Arsenal fan. They're riding high, top of the league, and I said to her, no chance from, even though we live in North London, from day one, I was like, no chance, and I felt really guilty. But thank God for Brentford, honestly, like changed my mind.
Yeah. Well, I think when I was little, we just won the league, so I'm not saying it's going to happen for him. When I was one, we won the European Cup, so we can but dream. We can but dream for him. Tywin, good evening, Tywin. Great to have you here. Gaza makes a great point. I think you mentioned this time about Almiron's flying. Rich, I'll come to you because obviously Sam gave his thoughts on it. What's happened to Almiron? Is it anything to do with this man here and his comments?
I mean, look, it was probably obviously it was a flippant comment, and I'm sure Grealish didn't mean anything by it, but from Almiron's point of view, it has to act as a little bit of fuel. It has to. If he's going to get that from the players, can you believe what he's just said about you, sort of thing. Like, don't let him say that to you. If they're winding him up about it, it's got to create a bit of fire in his belly. And fair play to him for playing so well. He's got something like 5 in 5 or something stupid like that, and the goals he's scoring are fantastic goals.
Yeah.
He seems to have kind of calmed down. It always seemed to be like he ran a bit too fast for his brain to catch up, but he seems to be really like sort of not only beating players, but now he's sort of quite calm in front of goal, and in some of the finishes have been fantastic. So yeah, he's a real worry at the moment in terms of facing him on Saturday.
Yeah, I think he's been. I mean, when I look at that team as well, and I know we've through Black and White evening. Great to have you here. I look at the Newcastle team and I think Almiron, Wilson was like ex-Cov, played for Bournemouth, did all right. They've obviously got a few other players that are playing on that team that hadn't been amazing in previous seasons. All of a sudden, they look an absolute. They've got like Longstaff, who was also a decent player, but never thought he was going to be, top 4 midfielder. And all of a sudden, you look at that team now, and on paper, you don't think wow, but when you see them play, I mean, I think they've been absolutely tremendous. Almiron's got he's their top scorer this season. He's got 6 goals. So I mean, it's some return, and you're absolutely right. I think it says a lot about Grealish's intelligence, doesn't it? There was never someone he's been too blessed with. But to do that to another professional footballer, I mean, have Newcastle played Man City? I don't know, have they?
Yes, they drew 3-3.
Oh God, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Motivation, absolute motivation. So yeah. Look, I think they've got some players that are in form. What about our team then? What about our team? Who do you think will be up for this? Who's looking to prove a point to the incoming manager? Sam, who do you fancy?
You never know with this team, honestly. I don't know. It could be. I'm hoping that. I mean, the hope is that with Emery obviously watching, Unai Emery is going to be watching this game. Players will know that they'll want to be in his plans. And I think the problem is with Gerrard. And part of the reason that I've not been on the podcast for a while is because I honestly would have just been saying the same thing every week. And I was not magnanimous in victory on the group chat. I think I said the other day, I'm getting tired of being right all the time. because I've been calling for John McGinn to be dropped for about 2 months as well.
I think we've all been in agreement with that, to be fair.
Don't you start piping up, Rich. Don't you start. You're already on the Gerrard out train. Like last game. But I think the feel good factor that was lost under Gerrard. I think it's clearly back. In the sense that players just kind of feel like that weight is lifted. The fans aren't so toxic anymore. I mean that game against Fulham, although I wasn't there in person, and we could just hear it through the TV and all the social commentary, and it must have been hard. And the problem is with this Villa shirt is that it's heavy anyway. It's a really, really heavy shirt to wear. Same with the hot seat, the manager's seat. It's not easy. So kind of having that success at Brentford, and everyone's got to be trying to get into Emery's plans, and he'll be watching. I just hope we kind of take our time the way we did with Brentford. We were very clinical, and I think we were very composed as well, which is why we scored so many. So a lot of composure. So hopefully, I expect to see the same team. I don't expect Jacob Ramsey or John McGinn to be in the team, and I hope Danny Ings keeps on doing what everyone's been waiting for him to do, because he is that clinical striker we've been screaming out for, and it seems that we've found out how to get him the ball.
Yeah, look, we'll certainly come on to obviously lineups a bit later on in the pod, but Rich, don't you think it's mad how one game, a manager leaving, and then one game, and it feels like a totally different club?
It is totally. I mean, but it does happen. It does happen. With numerous occasions and numerous times. And let's put it out there now. Like Sam, full disclosure, you were right. I'll give it to you. I'll pin my nail to the mast, or whatever you want to call it, about Gerrard. And I know we all hoped it would work, and it didn't. It didn't work, and that's the case. But I think it is, and you could see it now. Whether there's a little bit of I think a lot of smoke was said in the media about players not playing for Gerrard, and they should be ashamed of themselves and all that sort of stuff. And I don't agree with that sentiment. I think there were changes made, and we knew there were changes made to that formation. There were changes made to personnel. There was players played in incorrect positions. So that was tangible to see from Sunday's game, and was refreshing to see. I don't think anybody would have expected that reaction for 3 goals in 15 minutes, and it was phenomenal to see. My issue is that we've seen in flashes, Leon Bailey do some great things in home games. It's when we come away and to a tough place like St James's Park, can he replicate that? Can he do that at that ground? I like Dendoncker in that midfield, and I think he gives us some physical presence, as we've always said, and allows Luiz to play in that, what we call the double pivot, or however we want to call it. Buendia in that free role, can he impose himself in that game? But it certainly gave the players more license to play. It allowed us to get more players in the box, and if we go at Newcastle like that, we can certainly cause them problems. So
can we talk about Bailey for a second? Again, this is not an I told you so anything, but against Fulham, I think it was that after Gerrard's last game, there was a general consensus, it seemed, within the contributors of the Villa Park pod, that Bailey's the first one that needs to go. There you go.
Hey.
And I basically shared my thoughts when I said I don't think Bailey's the problem. He's clearly a player. He's clearly got ability. The players around him, everyone's playing poorly. Like, it wasn't just him. He wasn't playing well, but everyone's playing poorly. And I think against Brentford, he showed exactly what he can do, and he just contributed so much in specifically the goals and dragging players away. And like, Bailey is a player that cost us a lot of money, highly rated, great stats in the Bundesliga, has shown moments here. Are we going to give him more time now as a fan base, do you reckon? Do you think we're going to let him do his thing?
I just hope. Look. Wingers are frustrating, and exciting in equal measure. So he could go out on Saturday and stink the place out as well as he absolutely sparkled at Villa Park on Sunday. Like that's just, Tony Daly used to do the same thing, and he's one of the Villa heroes. Mark Walters used to do the same thing, and he's one of my all-time favorite Villa players. So wingers are like, Newcastle fans will say the same about Alan St. Maximin. Some games he's absolutely phenomenal, and then other games he can't trap a bag of cement. I just hope that, I agree, Sam. I do hope that Villa fans give him some time and give him some, some leeway, because we've seen for that 90-minute performance that he was electric. He was, that you can't say anything else about it. It was fantastic, and that's what people pay their money to see, don't they? And I do hope, and like I said, everyone says things in the heat of the moment, and we all say things about the players when we're pissed off. But he was great on Saturday and Sunday, and I just hope that he can be. It's always a tough place to go, St James Park. So I don't necessarily expect that same level of performance. But if he can be a real threat, then we've got a hell of a player, like you've said, mate. Like you've said.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt in my mind that Bailey is, comes from great pedigree. But I think the thing is this, I would say, is I think he's flattered to deceive so many times, repeatedly. He's been given a number of chances that he has to shoulder a lot of that blame. And I do think he's been given a chance. I think injury hit him last year. That this season he's played a lot, and it's been fleeting moments. It would be good to see a system utilising him better, which I think hopefully it will do if all reports are how Emery's going to play, and obviously how Danks played the last game. And I think he'll be given his chance now to shine. I think the fact is for Bailey is when you're a club who've got one winger, basically, and you want to play wingers, and you're probably going to play most games, aren't you? Because
he's the only wide player, like natural wide player that Villa have got. And I think I agree with you. I think he's had a tough start to the season, but I honestly, before Brentford, I don't think I could highlight anyone who was decent. I honestly think our best player this season has been Ezri Konsa. And defensively, we haven't actually looked too bad at all. So it's, it's one of those where he hasn't been good, but I didn't understand why he was highlighted as a player.
Yeah.
Who, And I think when you look at someone like, take for example Douglas Luiz, I've always been on his back, quite publicly. But he's just been given. We're talking about four years or however long he's had with Villa. It's crazy how much time he's got. He scored from one corner, and all of a sudden he's the second coming. I heard Dan Bardell today say we should start building the team around Douglas Luiz.
I'm certainly not at that level.
I'm not at that stage. But at the same time,
no.
I can see what he's bringing that no one else in that midfield is bringing. That baller, and he should be in the team right now. But I was just curious as to why Leon Bailey. I feel like, I think I said it in the chat as well. I think because his dad's a bit of a knobhead, I think we give him a harder time, which is a little bit harsh. But,
it's probably the same reason as why we give the club a hard time, because our rhetoric's been a bit knobhead like, hasn't it, in terms of we're going to crash Europe. So, just once again, thanks to everyone. The likes and subscribes. Our last video did really, really well. And it's great to obviously see the positivity around the Emery incoming appointment for us, which is great. If you're not already subscribing to the show, please do so. Tell your friends, and also if you could give the video a like as well. Talk about a bit of a giveaway. Richard will talk about a bit of a giveaway toward the end of the show, so that'll be something exciting to look forward to for us hitting the 500 subscribers mark and way beyond now. So again, thanks to everyone for that. There's some great comments coming through tonight's show so far. AJ's back. AJ, evening, mate. Barry Diablo, St James's Park is graveyard for Villa. Time to change that. We'll talk through shortly some of the head-to-heads. Tibon, Almiron's the only threat for me. Young is going to have to use the experience to stop him. Absolutely. I think that's going to be an interesting matchup. Through black and white eyes, Miggy's flying because he now has two quality players in Trips and Bruno who understand his game and can find his runs. And that's a good point, I think, around if you've got good players around you, then that'll work for you.
I think we didn't really mention Trippier as much as we should have as well, because he's made a massive impact since he's joined Newcastle as well.
Quality player.
Fantastic player.
Absolutely. I mean, you think right back, like coming in, you think, well, how much influence is a right back going to have? But I think I believe it. Take me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was their first signing in that window, and I think he made they made a statement with signing him. And
you can see it in the games as well, like
and the influence that he has.
When the ref is he pushes everyone to a side and he says, "I've been watching Trippier actually because I was quite curious to see if he'd get into the England setup for the World Cup, and I would be surprised now if he doesn't go, if he's not on the plane, because
I think we're getting ahead of obviously Dan James has got his injury problems, but I think it would have been Alexander-Arnold would have been getting left out, wouldn't he, if he hadn't been for that? Because Trippier, I think, he's a shoe in. His versatility is a massive thing, left and right. His delivery from free kicks, he's shooting from free kicks. I think he's a leader. I think he's an absolute shoe in for me.
His free kicks give me PTSD though. Yeah. You know that Croatia.
Yeah.
Nah. Yeah. It's not.
That's not going to the second time we threw away a lead in a major match. In the last two tournaments. Barry Diablo says Watkins can get a burn again if he starts at left back. Watkins hasn't got much of a trick in him, but he might be able to get past him with a bit of pace. Although
Burn's actually quite quick. I'd be interested to see from the comments, from any Newcastle fans watching. Am I wrong in saying Dan Burn actually is quite quick, or is that
he's not quick base, but one stride covers 48 meters. So he's not actually allowed to compete in the Olympics. There's something about the way he's made. He's not allowed to compete.
His triple jump record is 300.
Say he's not allowed to do the triple jump. Yeah.
Do you remember back?
We're going to start pissing him off like Almiron, and he's going to play an absolute blinder. He's going to watch this.
I know.
Yeah, or we're going to hear like a Villa player coming out, pissed saying that Dan Burn's rubbish. Do you remember in I think it was the early to mid 90s, they did a weird thing where they did like a running race of like Premier League teams and who the fastest footballer was, and they literally did like 100-meter sprints. And I think the fastest one was I think it was all league teams. I think it was John Williams from Swansea won it with like 10 point something seconds. I'm just wondering, you get those deceptively fast footballers. I think you might be right, Sam. I think Dan Burn's quicker than you think he is. Yeah, because he's such a big unit. And I tell you what, as well, like he's such a threat, isn't he? In the air, he's so dominating in the air as well.
6'7"?
Yeah. It's crazy.
I mean, really, you'd think Tyrone Mings should be on Dan Burn at any set piece because he's 6'5", so it's not a massive difference. And but the threats all over the pitch, Newcastle. So I'm sure we'll get onto predictions in a bit.
I think if Gerrard was still in charge, it'd be John McGinn on Dan Burn at set pieces. But anyway, we haven't got to go into that.
It'd be John McGinn's kid.
Yeah. Talking to John McGinn, Gaza says even McGinn's cousin, who I worked with, said he needed to be dropped. Well, yeah, it happened. Tyrone, Bailey has to turn up. Ings has to be clinical. Buendia has to be a menace, and Double D's has to win that midfield battle. We should be fine. The Louise and Den Donker midfield act was solid. Like I think with Bailey, Bailey, we give the point around that. You mentioned a point about Louise as well. Consistency now. Can you do it at home against an off-form Brentford? Probably most teams where Brentford play would have. Tony said it all at the after-match game comments, didn't he, when he said they were embarrassing. So we can't get too carried away when, like I've said on the pod before, when Man City have a bit of an off day, when, Chelsea had a bit of an off first half, we play a little bit better. We did what we should do, what Fulham did to us, what Bournemouth did to us, we did to Brentford by dispatching the team that were there for the taking. It's games like this, I feel, these away games against good teams where you actually show whether you've got anything about you, basically.
Yeah, interestingly enough, the two Newcastle pods I was on before had Joe Linton playing left of the front three. And they had Willock, Sean Longstaff, and Bruno in the midfield three. So I was actually quite surprised at that because I thought Joe Linton absolutely dominated us at St James's Park last season. So I'd be quite happy if they play him out on that left hand side of the front three, to be honest, rather than the central. I think he'd do better against the Willock.
Yeah, that'd be good. Rachel's back. Rachel, great to have you again. Ask a question. Do we think Target might play due to the familiarity? Gaza thinks not, but I don't think Burn will be getting out the team, will he? Based on obviously how he's been playing so far. One point I wanted to bring up. We mentioned earlier about the managers. Timon talked about nothing to do with the manager bounce. Danks just did what Gerrard didn't. So talking about that man there, Mr. Danks. It's General Danks' last stand this weekend. Do we think there'll be any Emery influence on that team, on that squad, or do you think it'll just be literally business as usual as it was pre Brentford? What do you reckon, Sam?
I don't think Emery's going to get too involved this weekend. I think he's just going to try and observe. He might have a little chat and say, save this player if he's not feeling great or whatever. But I don't think he gets too involved. I think with regards to the comment about it's not a manager bounce, I think there wasn't an element of a new manager bounce, because I think even before the game started against Brentford, Villa Park was absolutely buzzing. And she's absolutely right in saying that, the change in personnel was the changes that made the difference. Putting Danny Ings up front and, taking out Ramsey and McGinn and just freshening things up. I think that's all Danks, and I think he needs to be credited with that. I think he's one for the future, Danks. He's got impressive pedigree with like the junior England sides, and he did a fantastic job. And I think even watching him on the side as a Villa fan as well, I don't know, where is he from? Is he from Telford or?
I think he's from Birmingham. I think he's from near Stechford, near my ends, as they would say these days. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on behalf of everyone, never say that again, Kev.
Sorry.
He's a Brummie, he's a Villa fan, and even like after he scored the third goal, fourth goal, he's very calm, very collected, and I think he needs loads of credit. I hope he stays.
I don't think he was on the inside, Sam. I think he was losing it.
Yeah, he may have been, but the exterior was cool, and I think the players fed off that. And I think Emery is going to want to do his own thing, and Emery's that kind of manager where he needs time to influence philosophy. He's a very deep manager. He's like in terms of the mentality, he's like a carpet Guardiola. He has an identity, he has an idea of what works and what doesn't. I don't think it's something that can be translated with a whisper in the ear. So I doubt he'll have any influence, but it'll be a good watch for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to fire through some more of the comments, because there's been absolutely loads flying, and so thanks again for everyone. Simon says, as we said earlier, interested to see how Bailey plays. Had a few false dawns so far. No place to hide at St James's Park. Correct. Aaron, our friend of the pod. How you doing, Aaron?
Wagwan.
I was going to say, let Rich read it out.
Yeah. We should have let Kev read it out, to be fair.
Wagwan, Aaron. How's it going, man? Jazz said Bailey was fire last game. Yeah, he was. After him calling him a lazy so-and-so after the Fulham game. Timon, he contributed to all 4 goals. Can't really complain at that. Aaron, let's get a win at those Newcastle boys. Fingers crossed, Aaron. Espen, good to have you, mate. Danks said dropping again was part of Villa playing 3 games in a week. Will he drop him again? Hope so, not so sure. I think that is him just being diplomatic, personally. I don't think after a 4-0 win, I don't think he can change that at all, because if he does, then he'll be remembered as a guy that changed a winning team and it backfired. So there you go. And Barry says, Barry Diablo, thanks for joining. No place to begin. He stifles the tempo of our play.
He does.
I totally agree.
I totally agree. You can't pass the ball. And that's not me. I'm not having a dig, in the childish sense. I'm being real. His inability to pass the ball and allow the flow from the defense up to the attack, it really does stifle the tempo, and Barry's got that spot on. And I think it was quite telling, because even on TalkSport, Darren Bent, who can't watch that much Villa, he highlighted it as well. He said that McGinn's been poor. He's been out of form for about 18 months now. And that was bang on. Like, John McGinn has not been good in a very long time. And I think, even forget him being captain, which is the most ridiculous decision. As soon as that happened, I think that was the start of the end for Gerrard, if I'm being honest. But you don't make a player that out of form captain, but then to stay in the team as consistently is again what contributed to Gerrard's downfall. Because
too stubborn, wasn't it?
I mean, Rich, you said when Gerrard came in that this whole thing of Dean Smith and his favourites was going to end, and Gerrard was cutthroat, and absolute opposite. He stuck.
And I said that is the one thing, or one of the things that I was most let down about Gerrard with. I really don't understand why he stuck so stubbornly to that way, and I just honestly I didn't think that would be the way he would go. I thought he would have no issues with making changes. I thought he would have no issues with telling players exactly what he thought about them. I mean, he did with some of them, but they tended to be the wrong ones. But yeah, I totally agree, mate. And I think McGinn, I think you saw, and so many times I've said, is that forward players won't make runs and won't take risks if they don't trust that the ball is going to get to them, or if they don't trust that the ball isn't going to be given away. And immediately you saw on Sunday that the players were making runs into areas that hurt the opposition because they knew they were going to get the ball, or they knew that they had a chance of getting the ball at least, or they knew we would have a chance of winning it back in an area that was dangerous. And
it's been so long. It's been so long. Sorry, Rich. It's been so long since we saw that as well. I mean, I remember last year when. Do you remember the Leeds home draw when Coutinho, Ramsey was bombing on? It was just so exciting to Leeds away was another game where it happened. Southampton at home, it was so few and far between that I thought the weekend was night and day from previous performances. The bravery, the confidence of the players. So yeah, and Rachel says all the players deserve a fresh start as they've stagnated or regressed under Gerrard due to the lack of coaching. I don't think you can argue with that point. We don't know what's happening with the coaching, but for all that number of coaches we've got there, to see that not one player move forward, says a lot.
Seeing that list of coaches that left along with him, I don't know. I
can't disagree with that at all with what Rachel said, and I think that was the clearest thing is that you can attribute a lot of the success that Gerrard had at Rangers to Mick Beale, and even his early success at Villa, I would attribute that to Mick Beale as well. Gerrard is a manager in the oldest sense, like a Fergie, in the sense that he's a figurehead. He wants to talk the talk and manage the players, but he's not a coach. And I think the problem is with Villa is that we've not had a world-class coach or like a top level manager for. I mean, I'd argue maybe even in my lifetime, I can't remember the last time we had just an absolute worldie of a coach. We've had worldie players. We've had plenty of them, but we've never quite had just that high top level European level coach to go with it. And I think, Unai Emery, whatever you say about him, he's a European. I mean, you can't question that 5 European trophies or whatever it is that he's won. Not to mention leagues, etc. We've got a European level coach, and I think it's one of those crunch time things now for Villa, where if Emery can't get a tune out of these players, then something's wrong, and I think the club will reassess from the top down and say, look, hold on, we've got in the players that we need, we've got this manager. If things aren't working, we need to try and find out why.
Well, the one thing they say about Emery as well, I alluded to this on our pod, me and Rich the other day, was he does seem like a really nice guy, but also his players that have played for him seem to really also say a lot of great stuff about him. Aaron makes the point that about Gerrard mashing up the confidence.
I love it.
Me trying to read Aaron's comments out there.
Aaron, are you actually Jamaican? Because that would be this is something I have to know. Or no. Are you sitting at home looking like Kev? These are things I need to
know. Aaron looks like me. He's a panel beater from Castle Vale. He looks like me. He went to private school. No, we don't. I get the point entirely. He did basically knock the confidence. I think it felt like it was all about Gerrard. With a person such as Gerrard, I mean, the thing that used to annoy us all, it was always, now it was Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa. I saw someone put a tweet the other day. Is it now Unai Emery, Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa? Is that what we're going to say on Sky Sports? So yeah, I mean, I think and Rachel agreed. The confidence took a huge hit, and I think you could see that from the way the players were playing. Some of the performances this season. Bournemouth was an absolute standout one for me. Leeds against 10 men. Forest couldn't beat that team.
Pick every game this season. Honestly, you could list off every game. Now, here's an interesting theory. Aaron is actually Leon Bailey's dad.
Oh, wow.
Conspiracy theories.
While we're talking about Aaron, interesting comment from Aaron. Aaron said Almiron is a Clart. So I hope that doesn't. I hope Almiron's not watching this.
Yeah, Almiron, please don't be watching this.
Because we know
Aaron doesn't react.
Perhaps Aaron is Jack Grealish.
yeah. Maybe that's
We'll
what
never know. We'll have to have him
love
on. We'll have to have him
This
on.
this is going to be a new feature of the show. Who is Aaron? I think that we should start. If everyone can comment and they think Aaron really is.
Yeah.
And Aaron will be going, it's me, you bumper Clarks, it's me. Right, we move on. So Leonardo, stay with us. You don't get this on Claret and Blue. Right, so Leonardo Lyon, Aston Villa are going to be Newcastle on and off. Well, fingers crossed. Solo, good evening. Good to have you here.
Good evening.
Yeah, Gaza makes a great point. I think we should talk about this now. It's our away form that's worrying, though, to be honest. Our away form's poor, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's May against Burnley, the last game that we won. And I think this season we've 2 draws and 5 defeats, I think. Yeah, we haven't scored many goals away from home either. No. So it is a real worry, and you don't want to be facing Newcastle United at St James's Park, who are currently in 4th position with the best defence in the league. So look, if we're going to go and win an away game, it's the best place to do it, to be honest. So yeah, it's not going to be easy though, boys. Not going to be easy at all.
Well, let's look at some of the stats, because there's some interesting stats out there. Well, first of all, we'll go with the form guide. So as you can see there, other than that win we've got, it's been pretty bleak for Aston Villa. Whereas look at Newcastle's there. What do you make of that, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, it's not news to anyone. Newcastle have been flying up within the top 4 now. And even if you look at like the opposition that they've played, beating Spurs. That's. I mean, Spurs are 3rd in the league. Man United are getting better under Ten Hag. Fulham are riding high on the table. Very convincing win at Fulham. Even more convincing at Brentford. They're a side that can handle different styles of play. I think at one point Villa were very good against teams who came at them. I think under Dean Smith. I think when players sat back and invited us to break them down, we weren't very good at it, but we were very good on the counter with Jack Grealish. And I think Newcastle are a rare team that are good at adapting to the style of play of their opponent. And it shows in their results that, they're even against the likes of Man City, they're holding their own. And I think even when they're not winning, they're still putting in good performances. So a scary team to play at the moment. There's no doubt about it. I think they're the form team, maybe apart from Arsenal in the league right now. Yeah,
Rich, if you look at the season so far as well, I mean, Sam made a good point there around, I think, Newcastle, obviously, and I think, if you look at the goals conceded as well, 0.83 to 1.33 for Villa, but Liverpool was their worst defeat, Newcastle, 2-1.
Well, they've only lost 1 game all season, so...
Yeah, that's their worst defeat, 2-1.
So everything points to a really difficult game. Everything points, though, I was on... Baz's channel with the Through and Black and White Eyes, and everything points to a low-scoring game. I think pretty much every game that Villa and Newcastle have played over the last, 10 occasions or something has been under 2.5 goals a game in the match. So
there you go. Here's the recent meetings.
Yeah, so it's going to be, particularly St James's Park, there hasn't been a lot of goals, so it's going to be a tight game, I think. But yeah, their form is fantastic. I think the first slide you put up with their form, I think they've scored something like 12 goals in the last 6 games, and we've scored something like, we scored 5, and 4 of those were in the same game. So it's they certainly know where the net is, and they've got Callum Wilson up front, who's in fantastic form, as well as Almiron. But like I said before, we're going into this game in a little bit of a different, in a much different situation than we were 2 or 3 weeks ago, and
way more.
And we can go into it with a lot more optimism. Players are playing with that little bit more freedom, like we've said. Ings has scored 2, Bailey scored 1, Watkins has scored 1. playing. They've got Aaron Danks who wants to leave on a high, and they want to impress a new manager. So everything is pointing towards the players at least putting in a big performance, regardless of the result. So yeah, I think Newcastle, as much as we're kind of fearing going there and thinking it's going to be a difficult game, they can't certainly look at this lightly anymore in terms of, Villa in a terrible state, and this is going to be an easy game and we'll roll them over.
I'm expecting a decent performance from Villa, because I think on the back of that Brentford game, with the new manager coming in a matter of days, the players have got a lot to prove. And you'd put 2 good performances in under Danks to give yourself a chance of starting the Emery era in that team. There's no doubt about it. Will be in the market in January. So I know it seems obvious, but it's so true, isn't it, that some of these players are fighting for their future. So if he doesn't fancy them, by all accounts, Emery as well, he's very, very technical. And a lot of things I've read about players that have talked about him have said that some players kind of switch off because he goes into so much detail, almost Guardiola-esque. So I think it's down to the players now to put a performance in. And 4th in the league, Newcastle, they're in fantastic form. They are probably one of the most feared teams. They went to beat Spurs away, and it wasn't a game you couldn't say they didn't deserve to win. So, but traditionally also Premier League, I know recently it seems like with those recent meetings, we seem to beat them at home. I think the one that's on there, the 6th game, I think that was maybe a 2-0 winner, Harahan free kick, if I remember. Mm-hmm. And obviously they seem to either beat us or we get draws away. But in the Premier League, interesting. Newcastle 23 total wins to Villa's 11. 15 home and 8 away wins, and 9 home and 2 away wins to Villa. So we haven't got a great record away at St James's Park. 50 games played, 16 draws, but 23 wins to Newcastle. What do you make of that?
Well, look, it's as I say, the record is not very good at St James's Park. When we keep talking about the last time we won there was when Dyer and Bowie had that fight on the pitch. And we need to change that record, because it's, I don't know, something like 17 years ago or something stupid like that. So yeah, come on, let's get a win on Saturday. It'd be amazing, and it'd be a great statement to the league. It would be a great way to finish off Aaron Danks' sort of record as caretaker manager, and give Emery a real sort of boost for starting with the club.
Yeah, absolutely. Aston's put a comment up there. Cheers, Espen, about the rumoured staff coming in. I can't say I know too much about these, but apparently Paco Aston, Pablo Villanueva, Antonio Rodriguez, Victor Manas, and Jaime Arla. So I believe he's one of the coaches coming in. I think he's only 23 years old.
Yeah, I think he's very young. Yeah.
So, but he's put there, he's likely join Danks ? It remains to be seen whether Danks will stick around for some kind of continuity. I think the same with Austin McPhee, who we finally saw something from at the weekend with a set piece routine, and obviously the same with Neil Cutler as well. What do you reckon, Sam, about keeping only the old staff around?
I'd like to see Danks stay and maybe have some interaction with the reserves, or I think Neil Cutler is kind of like an institution now at Villa. He's a good lad, Cutler, and I think Ben Foster, I've heard him talk about Neil Cutler before, and he says that he's a much better coach than he was a goalkeeper, and he's important. Austin McPhee, I could take him or leave him, if I'm being honest. I wouldn't mind if he left. I don't think he provides enough. I don't know what his salary is, but I imagine it's substantial, and I don't think I don't think he brings enough to the table. And I don't think, Emery might have his own ideas, but, I think the players seem to like McPhee. I remember someone saying that Leon Bailey ran to Austin McPhee after that great set piece goal that he scored against Brentford. I don't know. I mean, I'm not fussed really. He's not going to play a big enough part, but I think if you're going to make a change, because what happens is if he doesn't and things don't go well for Unai Emery, you start talking about legacy issues, and Unai Emery's got other people from Purslow in his ear, and I think it's a statement from Purslow if he just kind of allows Emery to do his thing and not get so involved, because I know he had an influence on Austin McPhee coming in, as well as Johan Lang. I think the idea was to improve Villa at set pieces because we've been awful for a long time. So it's about whether Perslo's going to relinquish that kind of control because he's become kind of in the public eye now and not in a positive way. People are starting to ask questions of Christian Perslo. So be interesting to see how much he gives to Emery.
It will be. I think the whole point about Danks now is, I mean, he's got such goodwill now, hasn't he, based on that one game, of course. But, you know, I think before that happened, we probably put all those coaches in the same pot, didn't we? They're all crap. They're all rubbish. All of a sudden, as you alluded to, Rich, like, you know, the whole heap of coaches left, and there was still actually some left over, despite the fact they got around about 48 of them. You know, in one fell swoop, you know, McAllister.
Well, you said it, mate. It was a too many cooks situation, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It had to have been like, I know that it looks like quite a few staff are coming in, and obviously, you know, the demands of the Premier League now and the demands of top level football mean that you've got to look into everything to the nth degree, and you've got to have these big staff around you. But there had to be a situation where there were so many people involved that people were trying to look for things to do.
Of course.
There had to have been. Like,
and I think the question also is, you know, this might just be a theory, but with all those coaches involved, how much influence did McPhee have? You know, maybe he had ideas and they didn't implement them. Maybe he wanted us to do stuff and they thought differently. But look, I do hope Dank sticks around. Barry asked if he's a blue nose, and Rod said he thinks he is. Phil said he thinks he is. I mean, if he is a blue nose, he's the first blue nose it's won at Villa Park for a long time.
Maybe that's why he wasn't celebrating.
Yeah, maybe he wasn't allowed to. But yeah, look, I think he's done a great thing. Moving on to Emery, of course. You know, well, I'm sure we'll talk more about him when he joins. But as Gaza says, he's a winner. Simple as that. And I think, look, Sam, we talked about him a lot when me and Rich did the preview. But I mean, 4 Europa League wins is some going 3 in a row. 3 in a row. He's unbelievable. What was that quote the other day? I think we talked about it in our chat today, but is it 14 seasons in a row he's been in European football?
Yeah, 14 seasons in a row. This will be his first year without European football. And, you know, I think when he first came in, even before Gerrard left, I was very Poch heavy because he's a man with a plan. He's young, enigmatic. He was the coach that sprang out because he was out of work. You know, he was the obvious choice for, you know, if we could get him, if he's available. And then obviously Gerrard gets sacked. Developments happen, as always, at Villa very, very quickly. I mean, you look at the absolute shower at Wolves. That could be us. That could be the way we handle our business. But, you know, luckily, very organised. And when I first heard Emery's name, I wasn't disappointed. I just thought back to watching Unai Emery teams. And I think about Villarreal in the Champions League. I think about watching Arsenal. And the thing that screams out at me about Unai Emery team is very defensive. And, you know, very organised, very compact, very defensive. And for me personally, it's not my brand of football. I like, you know, Rich was saying earlier about Newcastle. Once they get a goal, they're after another. And so many times I've seen Villa take a lead and then lose it and lose the whole game by trying to defend it. I've always been of the mindset that, you know, the best form of defense is attack. You know, if the ball's in their half, you're not absorbing pressure. Mm-hmm. But that being said, since his appointment, I've had to think about Unai Emery. I've seen all the stuff and seen the ways Villarreal team is received in Spain and by the experts. And honestly, I'm really, really excited, and I'm 100% behind the appointment. His record on paper is infallible. You cannot question it. A lot of people have been saying that, you know, Emery is the smart choice, and you know, Poch would have been the vain choice, would have been like for the you know, the aesthetics. And, you know, actually on paper, it makes a lot more sense to take Unai Emery. And even looking into his time at Arsenal, you know, Europa League final again, and 70 points with possibly the worst Arsenal team of, you know, of the last couple of decades. You know, I think there's no one better for the job right now. I don't think there's anyone that you could, you know, realistic, that you could put into the hot seat of Villa and say, look, this is a European level manager, see what you can do. So I'm 100% behind him. And I just hope he doesn't, you know, he doesn't play too defensively. I hope he's not scared and he lets our players play, because I think that's what Danks did against Brentford. He kind of allowed people to be creative, and that's kind of what I'm hoping will happen as well with Emery.
Yeah, I think also, I think all Villa fans will welcome him with open arms. Look, no one wants us to play boring football, but I think if we got to a point where we were pragmatic, shall we say, rather than boring, but we progressed up the league, then I think a lot of us would take that. We'd probably give a limb up for that. I think the interesting thing is also at Emery is, and you said it's about Pochettino, a young manager. They're the same age. Pochettino is a young manager. He's 50, so I feel great about my life right now because I've got 8.5 years on Pochettino, and he's still young, so I'll take that.
Yeah, 100, mate. You're prime of life, Kev.
Yeah, absolute prime. I'm a youngster, really, if he's young. But Unai Emery's record. I mean, I know I was the same. I was on the Poch train with you. I felt the brand of football, man with a plan, absolutely. But Emery's record in terms of what he's won as a manager absolutely destroys Pochettino's. Destroys it. I mean, Pochettino won Ligue 1, Coupe de France, Trophy de Champions for Paris Saint-Germain. Other than that,
they're kind of given as soon as you get in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Barry Chuckle would win the league with Paris Saint-Germain. But other than that, he was League Cup runner-up with Spurs and the Champions League runner-up, obviously in that famous game where they didn't show against Liverpool. So exciting times. Hopefully, just to go through a few more of the comments again, flying in. Thanks again, everyone. Really random reviews. How are you doing tonight? Great to have you back. Doing good, thanks. Feeling positive about Emery and the Newcastle game. Hope we win this game, guys. Couldn't agree more. There's a conspiracy theory here from Gaza. Thinks Aaron is Martin O'Neill.
Imagine.
Could you imagine that? Oh my God, it'd be amazing, wouldn't it? It's actually an Irish accent rather than a Jamaican accent he's putting on. No. I'm just over Aaron. He's Aaron because I don't want to change Aaron. He's great.
He's like Aaron.
Barry says Emery's attention to detail meant to be intense. Be interesting to see how the players adapt. I think that's I mentioned this earlier. I think you've got to have a level of intelligence as well to be able to take those kind of things on. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Football IQ.
Yeah. Tim, if Emery can't do anything with this squad, I'm done. I'll just support a Jamaican team.
With you. Tell me which Jamaican team.
Tell me who you
honestly,
want to,
because
man.
at this point, Kingston FC is my new team.
Honestly, no one can help us. No one can help us if Emery can't.
I think the foundations, I think you're absolutely right, because we have the players. We've invested a lot of money into this squad. We've got players to come back like Carlos and Camara, and we've got so much on at Villa. Players like Jacob Ramsey and McGinn on the bench in the last. We have a lot in this squad, so someone's got to be able to do something with it, because
absolutely,
I think at some point we've got to start realizing that we take really good players, exciting players, bring them into the club and slowly just kill their talent and confidence. And, and this is true for players, there's countless, so many to name. So I think that's a fair point. Like, if Emery can't get a tune out of this team, I think eventually we have to start blaming managers and start actually taking a more holistic look at the club. Because Dan Bardell said earlier on Sky Sports, he said, Villa just want some success. Villa fans just want some success. And in any form, whether it's a low finish in the league, in a cup run or something like that, we just want something to, talk about. Because we talk about being a big club a lot. And we are a big club historically. We're a massive club. But it gets to that stage now where history is getting further and further away. And it's been 40 years since that European Cup. And we've not done a whole lot else since.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you think the cup record of Emery played into any part of the decision? Obviously, we know the pedigree, but as actually, being able to potentially bring a cup to us.
I don't think it would have played a part in the decision. I think it would just be a nice bonus. And I only really realised that the other night when we talked about it, and the fact that we've not won a cup for so long, we are so unlikely to probably get in the top four anytime soon, that you think that that's your only chance of silverware. I don't know. I mean, maybe it was part of the strategy, but yeah. I mean, I think in a one-off game, that's the kind of manager you want, isn't it? Someone who can do that. I think the point about the squad as well is I think he's got a good track record for working with players. I know he gave Emil Smith-Rowe, who we were famously obviously after, who isn't playing all the time at Arsenal. So, see what happens with that one. But
we don't need another Cam, though, do we, Kev?
No.
Surely not. Inundated.
We need a Cam who can get goals and assists. So I think we probably do need another Cam if our Cams don't perform. He gave Saka his debut. Obviously, he's done a good job with the likes of Coquelin towards the end of his career. Dan Juma, who was Championship with Bournemouth. He's very, very highly received by a lot of these players. So just to clarify as well, Aaron says he's from Birmingham. Parents are from Jamaica, so that's that one sorted. Brummy, born and bred. Leonardo Lyon, Real Man's Pod. This, well, men and women and whatever gender you want to be, you're welcome on this pod, no problem at all. Captain Si, Newcastle will be set up for 4-2-3-1, whereas Brentford was set up for Gerard Dross. Okay. Gerard Dross, hopefully we haven't got to worry about that anymore. Gaza, you ain't as good as your last game, and I think that's a very, very good point to talk about. 4 goals and a clean sheet. The confidence that'll come from that. And Rich, I'm going to bring up your team here, mate, because I didn't bother doing my own lineup tonight. And the reason I didn't bother doing my own lineup was because I 100% agree with yours. So, and it's no surprises really, because I don't think there's any changes, is it?
Is it the exact same as Brentford?
Exact same as Sunday, yeah. I mean, obviously injuries permitting, exactly the same. What can you do? You can't change a team that's just won 4-0. No. And been absolutely blistering across certainly the first half. Won the game inside the first 15 minutes, and then backed it up in the second half. We still had chances. We scored another goal. It gave us the opportunity to bring 1 or 2 players on. He actually made 5 substitutions. So yeah, absolutely. I think Dendoncker, like I said before, gave that real balance to that midfield. He allowed us to. He did the dirty work. He won the ball. He allowed us to win second balls in areas where we were allowed to be able to affect the game. Louise then was able to set the tempo, and I've the same as Sam. I've sort of lambasted Louise a lot of times. So I can see as a player there, but just so casual and so kind of slow on the ball. But seeing him play passes first time into feet, crisp. Was so refreshing to see. And then not only that, we like I said, we got players in the box. It was great to see, when Bailey's looking up and putting balls in the box, he's got Ings in there, he's got Buendia in there, he's got Watkins in there, he's got one of the 2 midfielders running in. We had players receiving the ball on the edge of the box and then laying it off for the midfielder, the oncoming midfielder, to have a shot from 20 yards out, which we've not seen in months. It was just so refreshing. So absolutely no changes to that team. And a massive shout out to Ashley Young as well, because 37 years old and leading that team from left back. It's just amazing to see. Like he's a great example to any young footballer coming through, because he's still playing high level. And he's still influencing. He's still, that clip of him where he picks up the ball and pretends to take the penalty and takes all the flack and then gives the ball to Danny. It's just those little
that's it.
Yeah, just those little kind of winning mentality things are so good. Just really good to see. I don't think he's going to be able to perform at this level for 10, 15 games, but at the moment he's playing really well and absolutely deserves his place.
Just like Pochettino making me feel young, Ashley Young makes me feel young as well, because I'm so close to aging him comparatively, like 4 years. I think I was 25 when Villa signed him. To think he's still I'm in my 40s and he's still playing for Villa now is mad. I think he's an absolute credit, and I do think Digne might struggle to get back in the team at the moment. Which says a lot. A left back hopes to be in the France squad, maybe even team for the World Cup. He's got pedigree playing for Roma, Barcelona, and he might not be able to get past Ashley Young. So that's.
I think he's another player who's, I see him the same as Bailey. He's clearly got ability. I don't think the system really worked for him and Gerrard. The things he was asking him to do, it's not the type of player that Luca Digne was. And I think with me, there are some players where I see, I see limits of potential and limits of ability. There are some players, for example, I say a player like Tyrone Mings plays as well as he can possibly play.
Yeah.
I think the same of Ollie Watkins. I think Ollie Watkins plays the best he can play. I just don't think he's that good. And then you see players like Leon Bailey and Danny Ings and even players like Jacob Ramsey, for me, Esri Konsa. These are all players that can go a level above.
Their ceiling's higher.
Their ceiling's so much higher.
Yeah.
And I think with Ashley Young, I think he's such a calming influence. But someone like Luca Digne, I think that his ceiling is higher in his contribution. And I think eventually we need to start looking like for John McGinn, his ceiling is only sort of like there, but maybe Douglas Luiz is up there. And I think that's really important to start trying to quantify now. A, how high the ceiling is, and B, how often are they going to hit that height that they can achieve? Because Douglas Luiz, the player, has always had a super high, ceiling, but never really achieved it on a regular basis. And I've just seen one of the comments saying I'd put Ashley Young at right back and bring in Digne, and I fully agree. I think Matty Cash is one of our weakest positions, that right back position. I fully agree. Put him at right back, he'll do the same thing there. Luca Digne go in and play.
Yeah, not a bad shout. I do agree in the sense that I don't think the way that we asked Digne to play previously helped him at all. So yeah, I think that more solidity in that team that we've got at the minute, I think that will really allow Digne to flourish, and puts pressure on Cash. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's been some great comments coming in and talking around this thing about what goes on with the fullbacks. I just put that one up there by Chris there. Thanks, Chris. About putting Ash at right back. Really random review says Digne was incredible when he came and went backwards, just like everybody else. So that's that. There's been some comments on it. I don't know if it's actually the Craig Butler, but if it is, Craig, welcome. Leon, you silenced the haters' blood, never grown up, bad man like us, man. So that is my boy Leon, stand up. If this is a parody, you're doing a great job. If it's not, then you certainly speak it. Look at this one. Slap up, Leon. I showed you the way you fight, boy.
You know what? If that is Craig Butler, and I know 1,000,000% it's not. If it is Craig Butler, how amazing would it be to have him on the show?
Yeah.
How good would
Craig,
it be?
give us a shout. DM us on Twitter, Villa Park Pod.
We'd have to stick to our guns. We can't say, like I said an hour ago, everyone hates his dad, thinks he's another. We can't change our tune. We're going to have to stick with it.
Yeah, Craig, why do you run your mouth so much? Yeah,
we'll have an honest chat.
Yeah,
we'll have an honest chat. Rich, do you want to talk about the exciting giveaway?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to say, like, the comments coming in are phenomenal. Like, so much banter between everyone. Like, it feels like we've got a real, like, I know, again, it sounds cliche, but we've got so many great, like, people, regulars that are watching, and so many, like it's like a little family almost. It's so good. Like, everyone getting in the comments. It's just amazing. So
it's amazing how we've grown as well, Rich.
Yeah.
I remember we had like we'd get one comment in a show, and now we've got. Can't even put them all up.
Kev can't cope with the comments. It's mad. So
fake accounts last time. Great job, boys.
Yeah. So I can't say thanks enough. Like, it's amazing, and we all comment with each other, just saying how amazing it is. Like, that we're growing so quickly. So thanks to you all for supporting us. It is massively appreciated. And as we always promised, we said when we hit 500 subscribers, we would do a giveaway as a thank you. We want to reward those people that have supported us, like yourselves, while also continuing to grow and attract new viewers. So yeah, I did a short video thanking. It's only a 4-minute video. If you take out the extra long intro, Sam, and the extra long outro, I know you ribbed me about them. Just skip those bits. It's only a 3-minute video, but it gives you the instructions of what to do. All you need to do is obviously make sure you subscribe to us, like the video, and comment below on that particular video, and then your name will get entered into the draw. I think we've got something like 50 comments at the moment. So yeah, you got a really good chance of winning. But so put your comment on that video, and your name will go into the hat, and myself and Kev will draw it on Sundays, or myself, Kev, and Sam. Hopefully, if all three of us are on a victorious pod, let's hope, on Sunday night. And yeah, it will be a Aston Villa players travel hoodie to be won. You can choose the size, whether you go for yourself, adults, or whether you want to give it to use it for one of your kids for Christmas. Absolutely, the choice is yours. But yeah, lovely bit of kit, and yeah. So don't forget, as I said, watch that video that I did, that short video. You need to like the video, so make sure you subscribed and comment on the video, and that's it.
Yeah, the weather's changing as well. It's be a good time to wear something like this. Even if Villa aren't doing very well, it will keep the rain off your head. So yeah, and
it's
again,
a lovely. Do you know what? It's a lovely tracksuit. It was after
nice.
Fulham. I saw John McGinn wearing it, and I was seething. But I just couldn't get over how good he looked in it. If I'm being honest, I was like, that's something I need one of them.
If John McGinn can look good in it, then,
you know what I mean?
Then there's hope for all of us. Yeah,
yeah. Bits in this.
Even if you've got a big bum, it'll look great on you, basically. So
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Right, let's just before we finish up, let's talk about predictions. So, Rich, I'll come to you first, mate. What's your prediction for this game at St James's Park?
Yeah, I'm going to keep consistent with what I've said on the other pods that I've been on. Due to our record at St James's Park and due to the way that they're playing, and I know we've got some optimism going into the game, I can't quite bring myself to say an Aston Villa win, but I am going to say we'll get a creditable 1-1 draw, and yeah, finish with a solid performance. Goal scorer, I'll say Watkins. I think he will. He's a type of player. He needed that goal the other day. He needed 3 bites of the cherry, which was pretty funny, to be fair. But he tends to be one of those players that goes on a little run of goals. So I fancy him to get another one in this game. But yeah, 1-1 draw.
Okay, cool. You, Sam?
I think it's just too much too soon. I think Newcastle are absolutely flying, best defensive record in the league. Threats everywhere. And I don't know if he is back or not, St. Maximin. But I know he hasn't been playing the last few games, and he's ridiculous as well, very dangerous. I think it's going to be too much too soon. I think we're going to lose 2-0, but I think we're going to put in a performance that the fans are happy with. I think it's going to be one of them where the just organisation, the time Eddie Howe's spent with Newcastle shows. But I just think it's too much for us right now, and a reputable 2-0 loss, I think.
Okay, well, I am back to what I was in my previous 40 years of my life before Steven Gerrard. Positive Aston Villa. I'm having dreams of big runs, Claret Blue Army, marauding through other teams' defences. I'm feeling good, and I'm going to say Aston Villa are going to get a 2-1 win at St James's Park.
I love that.
Mate, I will be partying around Newcastle if we get that.
Are you going to the game, Rich?
I am going to the game. Yes, I'm taking Aidan, my lad, to his first away game.
Good lad.
And then his mum is picking him up straight after. So hopefully I'll be going on a celebratory night out. But yeah, it'd be phenomenal. So hopefully bring some good luck to the away game.
And I'm going to say the scorers will be Mr. Leon Bailey and Mr. Danny Ings. So
Craig Butler will be happy anyway in the comments.
Well, Craig has said 1-0. Leon, go on, boy. Okay. Gaza says Ings is going to get both goals in a 2-1. Johnny Dukes, I love this one. Ings and Bailey, 2-0 Villa. Similar to me. I let Newcastle have 1 goal. 2-1 Villa. Some good positive ones here. 3-1 to
Everyone's
Newcastle.
making me feel like I'm super negative.
Yeah.
MMA Jedi, go on then. Help me out.
2-1 Toon.
It's a bit
close 2-1.
Bit of clarity.
Yeah. So, Craig Butler. I think it might be the real Craig Butler here. It might be the real Craig Butler. Craig, I'm serious. You DM us on Twitter. We'll get you on the pod. We'll give you a platform and tell us what we've not seen for so long. But you know, obviously, better than us. So, honestly, mate, it'd be great to have you on for a chat, guys. It's been an interesting chat tonight. I've really enjoyed it. Great support from everyone watching. And look, even if we don't win the game, let's remember we had three positive pods in a row. So you can't argue with that, can you?
The hat trick.
I'm happy. That says it all. I'm not moaning about anything today.
No, we're going to see more of you as well, Sam, which is even better because we good times are coming back. Yeah.
I'm not doom and gloom much. I like to be quiet when we're doing poorly. I don't like to talk too much because I'm like in the heat of the moment. I say some really outlandish stuff. And do you remember, Rich? I can't remember what game it was, but I came on after a pasting and I was just seething. And I was like, I can't do this. I've got like a reputation to look a nutter.
Sam, me and you came on after I think after a game we won. I remember some of the comments were like, I can't believe how negative this podcast is. I think we won, and I was like, I was typing up like on the banners we have to put on this, like, you know, positivity is a question mark, because we've been so used to it being negative, haven't we? Look, just before we go, I'm going to pop up one comment I thought was a good comment from Aston. Aston, again, friend of the show, so appreciate that. Emery football will look more offensive and attractive with higher quality players. Villarreal he played with 0 to 15 million pound players, makes the best out of them, and then wins the Europa League. So, we've
already been linked to a couple of Villarreal players as well. The winger, young winger, I can't remember what his name is, but he's a big talent. I know that for a fact that a lot of European clubs are looking at him. I think he's 20-year-old left winger. And apparently, if we are looking into players like that for January, it could be a massive coup if we can go back. And you never know, likes of Pau Torres, 50 million. You never know with Villa. But I think he'll be good at attracting players as well. Players that he's worked with seem to like him. So with a bit of backing, fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, basically, obviously, there's been a bit of talk about Dan Juma, who I think obviously we'd like to get him, wouldn't we? So, yeah, and I think there's obviously other guy. I can't remember his name right now, but I know we've been linked with him as well. So, yeah, look. Hopefully positive times ahead. It'd be great to get a positive result at St. James's Park, because let's not forget, this new era, hopefully we're all thinking that relegation isn't going to happen. And the league's still tight, and a win would really, really push us up there. I know it's probably unsurprising. Sorry, it would be a surprising win if we did it. But, if we got a win in this game, depending on obviously how other results go, we take us up to 15 points here. We could be up to around about 9th.
I think that's quite key to think, Kevin, like, even though we've had such a poor start to the season, we're not that far off. We haven't fallen too far behind to make something of the season. And this is what I was saying before Gerrard, was finally fired, like, do it now, do it before it gets too late for us to make something of the season, before it becomes a throwaway. And I think this season absolutely isn't a throwaway by any stretch 100%. Of the imagination yet. So, fingers crossed, we've still got some points. And there's still loads to be made of this season. If Emery can hit the ground running, there's definitely stuff to be done here. Maybe even a top 8, who knows?
Well, we've got a chance in the league. We've got a chance in 2 cups to keep that European run going for Unai Emery. So, listen, thanks everyone for all of the comments and support. If you're not subscribed, please do so. Get involved with the competition. Remember, everyone, follow the Villa. See you for the reaction to the Newcastle game.
Night, everyone.
Bye, everyone.